Hi all, we're going to pick up where we left off on graphing, or we're going to start talking about transformations, and the homework for today is from the worksheet. It's problems 1 through 8, and 8 is the presentation problem as it says in the instructions. So let's talk about what transformations are. Now transformations, we have pictures here, are things that you can do on the coordinate plane that doesn't actually change the shape of the figure, it just moves it. So there's 3 types of transformations. This first one is called a translation. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to make it clearer. So if you want to pause the video and copy down these pictures, you can. Now a translation is where we just take the figure and we just slide it over. So sometimes this is called a slide or a shift. And they all mean the same thing. And what this is doing is just taking the shape and I'm sliding it over like this. And what happens here is that you have a horizontal translation, which is going to be like x plus something since we're going in a positive direction. You could also have a minus. And then you might have a vertical translation, which would be y plus something in this case since it's going up, though of course you could also shift something down. Translations are generally the most common, and that's the one that students remember the best. There are 2 others. So there are reflections here, and we have 3 kinds of reflections that you're going to commonly see. So if the black triangle here is the original shape, we could have a reflection across the x-axis. So when we're going like this, so that would be across the x-axis. And what happens to the ordered pair is that if it was x, y here, the x value stays the same, but now it's a negative y. We could also have it reflect across the y-axis, where it's reflecting over like this, and that same point now has the same y value, but now the x value is negative. So you can see here from this point, bobs all the way over here, or it reflects down here. Now the last type of reflection you might see is across the line that's called y equals x. So the line where both x and y are equal, which is this line that I've drawn in right here. And if we have the point x, y on the original shape right here, when it reflects up here, they stay the same, meaning the numbers stay the same, but they switch order. So now this new point up here has the same numbers, but it's in a different order. So if this was like 7, 2, this new point is 2, 7. The last type of transformation is a rotation, where we're turning it around the center or the origin. So we have different amounts that we turn. So if we go from this the black shape here, we can go 90 degrees, and that will take us here. And what would happen to the point xy is that we will have a negative x value, but you'll also notice it's taller, so it's going to be negative yx. So the numbers flip just like the last reflection. We could also go 180 degrees, which would take us all the way around to here. And the point is now negative x, negative y. And you'll notice we're going counterclockwise. We can also go clockwise, so if I decide to go 90 degrees this way, then I end up with the point positive y, negative x, like that. So as I said, translations are the most common ones, but you would definitely see reflections and rotations as well. Now let's use the notation for transformations. So here we have the points P, Q, R go through a transformation, and this is how a transformation is written. It says that the point x, y becomes x plus 1, y minus 3. So hopefully you would notice that this is going to be a translation where the x value is getting added by 1, and the y value is going down, in this case, minus 3. So that's what this notation means. It means the x value is increasing, plus 1, and then here the y value is decreasing minus 3. So if I draw in this translation here, let's say I want to start with the point R, I will say the x value is increasing, so it's going to the right 1 and then down 3. So this is x plus 1, and this would be y minus 3. And the new point here is the transformed version of r, and we call this r prime. This is going to be the thing that I notice students having the biggest issue with, is that they are not paying attention to these apostrophes, and we'll look at an example where that's really important later on. So r prime is the transformed point. You also can do this algebraically. So let's take the point Q. Since we have this formula here, xy becomes x plus 1, y minus 3, you can say Q prime is 1 plus 1, since that's the x value, comma, y value minus 3. So then we know that Q prime is equal to 2, 3. And I can plot it here as our Q prime. And you'll notice that it's the same as going over 1, down 3. We end up at the correct place. And our last point here, you can use whatever method you'd like to plot P prime like so. Connect as a new translated triangle. So our last question, as I said, you want to be paying attention to the apostrophes. So here it says E prime is negative 6, 1. Is a point that's undergone the same transformation as PQR. What was the point E? So what this is saying is that E prime, the actual transformed part, has gone through this where we started with an xy, and E prime is x plus 1, y minus 3. And in this case, we know that that's equal to negative 6 and positive 1. So we have to work our way backwards to find out what our xy were. So what I'm going to do here is that I know that a plus 1 happened to the x value, so I'm going to take 1 away. And I know that a minus 3 happened to the y value, so I'm going to add that 3 back on. So you'll notice here that we're doing inverse operations to undo just like we would if we were solving. So if E prime is negative 6, positive 1, then the original point E is negative 7, positive 4. So that's why I say pay attention to the apostrophes. They're small, but they're really important for these problems. All right, so you have your worksheet. You don't need to print it out. If you have a printer, it's helpful, but I'm not expecting anyone to print it out. You can just do all the work in your homework notebook, just like it was on the textbook. Please let me know if you have any questions, and the answers for that worksheet are on the second page of the PDF. So once you've done the homework, just keep scrolling and you'll be able to check your answers for everything but 8, which is the presentation problem. Talk to you later.